Now, I'm very excited to be introducing our first speaker, Allan Rutherford. He is the Deputy Head of Designations at Historic Environment Scotland. He has been with Historic Scotland and now Historic Environment Scotland since 1999. He has held a number of positions relating to heritage management. As the Deputy Head of Designations, he manages the scheduling program, and he's also currently overseeing the whole team temporarily. Although he calls himself very much a generalist, he is a medievalist at heart and has also published extensively about Scottish castles. Allan will talk about the designation process and how it relates to rock art. So on to you, Allan, if you can share your screen.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I'm Allan Rutherford, and I work in Historic Environment Scotland's designation team. The team is responsible for assessing and designating listed buildings, scheduled monuments, inventory gardens and designed landscapes, and inventory battlefields. We also provide advice to Scottish Government on the designation of historic marine protected areas. In this short presentation, I would like to explore how statutory designation can recognise the importance of prehistoric rock art, look at a few examples of designated rock art, and then talk a wee bit about how people can be involved in this process. So, examples of rock art have been recognised through designation as scheduled monuments under the 1979 Ancient Monument and Archaeological Areas Act. The definition of what a monument is within the Act is very broad, and scheduled monuments range from artefact scatters of the earliest people to medieval structures and more recent sites such as 20th century wartime defences. To be scheduled, a monument must be of national importance. That is the criterion to be a scheduled monument. However, the legislation within actually says very little about how we define what national importance is. So our decisions are supported by selection guidance, published selection guidance, which sets out how we consider the cultural significance of a site or place and how this significance then relates to national importance. The primary purpose of scheduling is to preserve as far as possible the cultural significance that makes a monument nationally important and to pass this on to future generations. This protection is enacted through a series of consent, compliance, enforcement and monitoring procedures that are managed by Historic Environment Scotland. And these are set out in detail in policy and guidance. So what do examples of national important prehistoric rock art look like? Some, such as this example at Cairnbarn, are complex, spread over several outcrops and exhibiting a variety of motifs. The nature of the carving at this site suggests a potentially complex development sequence, and the outcrops are located in the exceptionally rich prehistoric ritual and funerary landscape of the Kilmartin Glen. All of these characteristics contribute to the site's significance. And indeed, this one is one of a number of rock art sites that is in the care of Historic Environment Scotland on behalf of the nation. Other examples of designated rock art are simpler, such as this single outcrop at Breville Farm, overlooking the Craigieburn high above Strathnairn. This exhibits single cut marks as well as double cut marks conjoined by grooves. This is scheduled as a good representative example of prehistoric rock art. And again, its context very much adds to its significance. Some sites do present interesting challenges and questions, such as this example at Heights of Bray. This rock exhibits two decorated panels, each of which contains an unusual assemblage of motifs, cut marks and ring marks, several of which are conjoined by grooves. What makes this a slightly unusual case is that the boulder is in a new location. It has recently been relocated here. This does raise issues about its significance of a moved example of prehistoric rock art. However, in this case, the boulder was not moved far, and the overall context, which you can still see from the bottom slide, although changed, still very much contributes to the significance of this example. In some cases, rock art is part of a wider monument. The cut-mark stone at Tordarach, which lies in the foreground of the photograph here at the top, is contemporary or near contemporary with the ring cairn. While in the bottom picture at Hell's Glen, millennia separate the creation of rock art from the development of the early modern settlement. And these sites highlight an issue that we have in understanding the extent of designated rock art. There are likely to be more examples of rock art scheduled than our numbers actually suggest, as it is possible that rock art is present as part of a wider site, but not identified as such in our records. This is especially true for older schedulings, which generally do not have as extensive information as we currently produce when we designate a site. So what is the extent and spread of designated prehistoric rock art? At present, there are around, and I do say around because, as I said, our way that we calculate these things might be slightly underestimate the total, but there are around 117 schedulings where rock art is noted. As we can see, this represents a very small proportion of sites identified through the Scottish Rock Art Project. Interestingly, when we look at the two distribution maps, the one with the red dots is the scheduled sites. The two distribution maps do show similar clustering, but it also highlights that in some areas rich in rock art, we have a very poor representation of that on the schedule. So, how can people get involved? Well, anyone can propose a site for designation by completing a designation application form, which can be downloaded from our website. So, if you are aware of a site that you feel should be considered for designation, or where you consider that we need to review a designation because rock art has not been recognised in the designation record, please do fill in a form. And I'll just finish by mentioning the ringing stone, or Belfetrish cut-mark stone here on Tiree. This was proposed by a member of the public and designated in 2017. and it has been recorded by the Scottish Rock Art Project with a fantastic 3D model of it available on the website. Thank you.
Peter is asking what protection exists for rock art. I'm assuming there's the general protection as a scheduled monument, but is there anything particular that you can think of?
No, I mean the rock art, if it is scheduled, it is protected legally through that means, and all scheduled monuments are treated in the same way. They have the same legal protection, and that protection is essentially a control of works that happen to a scheduled monument, so that you need to go through a consent process if you want to carry out the majority of activities of works to a monument, which could alter it, change it, affect it. So that really is it is the protection, and that is a legal protection. So potentially it's a criminal offence if unauthorised works are carried out to a scheduled monument, or a scheduled monument is damaged. So scheduling has very significant implications.
Thank you.